Hi luminaries, in this video we are weaving on the loom. Before we start, this one we actually left on the loom. This one we wove the entire loom. And then this one we actually just weaved a circle. Okay, what you'll need are your loom, your cotton warp yarn in any color. This one I'm just going to use classic blue, needle. I do like actually a bent tip metal needle for this, scissors, and then optional tape. Okay, let's clear out our workspace and get started. Okay, warp the loom. So take your cotton warp and then create some slack, unwinding a few. And then you're going to thread a 2-inch tail from back to front through the hole. And then you're going to make a tie, not a knot, just a tie. Okay, the next part I'm going to show you is optional. You could actually tape it down to further secure the tie. I do actually recommend this. I find this come really handy, especially if you're doing this with kids. Okay, pull taut to the direct opposite notch. Then continue to pull taut around the 2 notches to the right. And then pull taut up, cross over to the next notch, and down. Okay, so you could actually reference this on your Loom packaging or on our website as well. And if it's intuitive for you, go ahead and fast forward to the next step. But in this case, I'm actually going to have to turn the loom. As you can see here, we're creating almost like a spoke in a wheel. So making sure you pull taut. And once you start doing it, it's going to be pretty intuitive. Again, direct opposite, and then after that you're going to go kind of at an angle. Okay, let's finish out the latter half here. Okay, so now you're at the second to the last notch. What you're going to do here is you're actually going to stop real quickly and then cut an 8-inch tail. And then a quick way to just measure that is just to go to the perimeter half of the eye, snip. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take that tail over that notch, like so. And then you're going to actually pull it through from the back through that kind of middle intersection and then pull up. But don't pull hard. You're just going to grab it and then take it to the last notch. Then from back to front, thread into the hole and then make a loop tie and tighten. Okay, I'm actually going to tape this down as well to just further secure it. And then I'm going to trim that long extra tail. Weave the eye. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be weaving the pupil. So this is this part right here. I think black actually makes it really look like an eye, so that pupil should always be black. Okay, so cut 1 to 2 feet of your yarn. In this case, I'm actually using fingering weight, but you could use worsted weight as well. Okay, choose any point. Keeping in mind that the first 2 or 3 rows, we're going to stitch pretty far from the center. Okay, let's thread through, leave a tail, and then go over, under, over, under, over, under the tabby stitch. Okay, so this is what I mean by we're going to stitch further away from the center, because see how the center there, all the warps are overlapping, so it's really hard to keep track of how you're stitching. So keep that kind of away a little bit. We're going to go 1 complete round. Okay, so we'll keep going here. So keep going until you reach that kind of, oops, we rethread that. until we reach that second to the last warp that we did. Do you remember that, where there was a warp that goes to the front and to the back? So it's almost like a double warp. So you're going to treat that as a single warp. So when you do go under it, you're going to go under both of those warps. Okay. So let me do that again. Stitch over, under, over, under. Okay. So I've reached now about 1 revolution, and now I'm going to start pulling and pushing. And the yarn is actually, see how it's going to start grabbing towards the center. So I push, I pull, and then I use the needle to push in, and then I actually take the tail and pull. That really helps grabs it to the center. Okay, then I'm going to repeat by doing the same thing. I'm just going to go over, under, and a little bit further away from the center. Okay, usually I go about 5 to 6 revolution. Again, you're going to have to eyeball it a little bit, no pun intended there, depending on the thickness of the yarn that you're using. Okay, now we're going to be weaving the iris. Okay, so take your iris color, in this case I'm using blue, cut 2 to 3 feet, and we're going to repeat that same tabby stitch. But one thing to keep in mind here, when you are starting a new color or even just kind of a new yarn, you're going to pick up about 2 to 3 warps back from the last stitching or the last color. So see how I'm starting 2 or 3 stitches back here, and then I'm just going to do the same stitching pattern. Make sure you leave a tail. Okay, over, under, over, under. I just want to give you a quick example of what this looks like, and then I'm going to fast forward even a little bit more. Okay, so let me bring in the piece that I've already done, weaving the white. So the white is the same as the blue. And you could end here and have a round eye. And then what we'll do is we'll cut and weave in each loose end. Or you could continue and then fill in this blue area. Okay, either way, we're going to actually stitch in and cut the loose ends. So this one I'm going to stitch in. And you can see some of the other ones I've cut because the weaving is so tight. So you'll totally be fine. Just leave a 1/4 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch tail. Okay, so let me weave this one in. Okay, thread your needle. And then go under 1 or 2 stitches and then gently pull through. Make sure that the end looks tight and neat. Pull gently. This one I'm going to cut for sure because it's so tight in there. Okay, snip, snip. Okay. So if you're going to finish at this part, just fast forward, but weaving the blue will continue here. Okay, so I am going to weave this in blue. You could choose whatever color you want. And again, we are going to do the tabby stitch. So because this part is really big, just cut maybe a 4 feet, 1.3 meters piece of yarn. And then we're going to weave on the outside here. Okay, again, outside. And then what's going to happen is that the top and the bottom part is going to get filled in, and then we'll start filling in the side because that will actually be also empty. Okay, here we go. If you have your weaving comb here, bring it in. It's going to really be helpful for you. Okay, see how I'm just weaving the outside here? Okay. All right, so fast forwarding a little bit. So you can see I filled in most of this. There's some parts still on the bottom that still has some space, while the top, see how it's completely filled in. So what I'll do is I'll just continue to weave, and then I'll weave under that white of the eye. Okay, and then I'm going to start filling in just one side of the eye. Okay, almost done. Okay, see how I'm completely filled in on that one side? Now I'm going to finish by filling in the other side there. Okay, see you in the next step. Okay, real quickly, your finishing options before we proceed. This is keeping it on the loom, and then I actually add some lashes, but you could just do it plain or add lashes. And then this one I removed from the loom. And in this case, I put a backing on with a little pin. Remove from the loom. Okay, so as you can see here, I have all the blue filled in. Now what we're going to do is weave all the loose ends and then trim the excess. Okay, so as always, just going to grab about 2 to 3 stitches over under and then gently pull through and then cut. Do the same for all your loose ends. Okay, so now the next step is to take the tip of your needle and begin to wedge and loosen the 2 ties and untie them. Okay, here we go. And then what you're going to do is you're going to tie those 2 tails together, make sure that it's flush against the weaving, but not totally tight that you grab the weaving. So just make sure that you're working gently. Okay, so for the next one, just pop out any of the loops. Could be the one on the top, the one on the bottom, totally up to you. Pop that out and then cut. And then again, repeat. You're going to make that tie that's flush to the weaving. So the ties, or I should say the tails, closer to the center will be a little bit short. So I'm really testing your tactile skills here. So you're just going to have to work really carefully with what you have. But it'll get easier as you work outwards. Okay, I'm going to fast forward this part. Pop the loop out, cut, and tie. Okay. All right, so you're going to have one last warp here, and this is that warp that has the front and the back. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut, and then you have 2 options. You could weave it into the back without tying, or you could tie. And since I've been tying it, I'm going to show you how to do it, even though the tails are pretty short, so you're going to have to work pretty carefully. What you're then going to do first is you're going to actually have to loop one of the tail around the yarn, since right now both of those tails are sitting next to one another, so making a tie won't work. So you have to loop this over. See, it's so short. Okay, got it. Now pull through and tie. Okay, sorry, this is a little bit messy. Hope that you could make this out. I know there's a lot of loose tails here. And then use your finger and make a tie. Okay. Right. I think I could do it. Okay. Almost. Okay. Okay, I think I got it here. Yep. Okay. Okay, so here you'll have 2 options. You have all your ties that are already have been tied flush with the weaving, and you could weave in those tails. So here, catching 1 to 2 stitches, thread, and then pull through. Or the other option is to use a hot iron and iron or press down the tails. So I'm going to let you choose whichever method that works best for you. Okay, let me show you that again. Pretty easy. Okay, this is all completed. One side I woven in the tail, and the other side I actually pressed it. So I hope you can see the difference here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to trim all the ends so that it's, looks a little bit neater. Sharp scissors is really, really helpful here. Okay, here we go. Okay, almost done. Okay. All right, so once we're done, just take out all those small tails. And your woven piece is done. I'm actually also going to show you how to put a backing on as well. This is optional, but the backing actually really stabilizes the piece. So all you need is fabric glue or tacky glue, or if you use a hot glue gun, you could do that as well. Okay, I'm just going to put the glue on the perimeter first. And you might want to apply it to the end of some of the tails as well. That helps holds it down even further. And then fill in the middle. I don't use a ton of glue. This is super sufficient. Then you're going to take your piece of felt, put that on, and then just put an iron on there for 2 to 4 seconds. You can skip this part if you use a hot glue gun. Okay, done. So you don't really have to wait for it to set. It's pretty much set for the most part. And now what we're going to do is trim the felt. So again, sharp scissors is really helpful, working carefully so that you don't cut any of your woven piece. Okay. Working pretty slowly here. Almost done, doesn't take very long. Okay, all done. All right, I'm just going to turn it over and just kind of snip any kind of rough edges. Okay, we're all done. That is your woven eye.